And we are live. Welcome, everybody. We'll wait a couple of minutes to give everyone a chance to join. So maybe we can start with some chit chat. Bart, how was your Easter? Did you do anything fun during the holiday?
True. Still boring. I'm just still running over the Easter as well, or even more at the Easter, because the amount of the calories you eat, it's incredible. It's too much to swallow, and then it just forced me to run. And I look forward for companion events so we can run even more in Amsterdam to take that calories out. And you've been good. How's the Easter for you?
Yeah, I've had some nice experiences when it comes to like activities. I did a little run. I did a couple of long walks in the mountains, and I also rested a little in the thermal baths. So yeah, I'm also looking very much
Mm.
forward to the
That sounds
companion
like a
event.
good fun.
Yeah, nearby Polish
Anyway,
mountains are the best
okay,
for
that's
sure.
great. Sure,
Yeah,
everybody who will be in south part of Poland, feel invited. It's pretty nice place, pretty comparable to Alps, especially this region, which Matt is mentioning. So it is pretty fun and cheap to stay.
yeah, we definitely recommend it. If you ever visit Poland, be sure to visit the mountains. We've got some lovely ones up there. Yeah, if you're just joining us right now as well, be sure to check out the companion event, which is taking place tomorrow and on Thursday. Me and Bart are going to be there. It's happening in Amsterdam, so you can let us know if you're coming. We can connect there. There's a couple more events actually that we're gonna be visiting soon. There's Dynamics Minds in Slovenia, uh, sometime I believe end of May, and then there's this Dynamics Con as well in Chicago, and there's gonna be representatives of executive automats of X Plus going to this event. So it's always good to connect live, to connect on site. And with that being said, maybe let's jump into today's webinar. It's 4:03, so we should have everyone already here. So hello and welcome. Today we're going to cover cutting costs and saving hours with executive automats for discovery. My name is Mateusz Łukowicz. I'm responsible for our partnership channel, where we work with most of the top D365 F&O partners, and we help them solve some of the biggest issues clients have with D365, or some of the most common challenges. The most common one is testing. We solve it with executive automats, but we also solve many others, and today we'll cover the ones that we solve with EA for discovery. Together here with me is Bartosz Szpiech. Bart is the VP of products, and he is responsible for all the top solutions that we bring to the D365 market. We're very lucky to have him, as he rarely misses an opportunity to bring a good product to the market. Just to give one example, when he saw that security permissions in D365 are pretty complex and time-consuming and expensive. Well, that's how EA for security was created, and now very soon it's coming to the standard of D365. It's already now available. Our solution it's going to be called user security governance, and we will touch upon this a little today as well. Let me jump to the agenda of today's webinar. So we're going to discuss executive automats for discovery. We'll go over all the common use cases we have identified with clients so far. It's a pretty new solution, so we're finding new use cases almost on every client project. The ones that we'll focus on today, we have already proven to be quite valuable, and I will briefly go over them on a high level, and then Bart is going to jump into EA for Discovery and show you how it works in practice. We'll aim for something like 40-45 minutes to leave the last 15 minutes or so for a Q&A session. And if any questions come up during this webinar, please write them in the comments and we'll answer them at the end. So with that being said, let us jump into how it works. Let me try and enlarge my screen a little bit so I see it well. Okay, so with EA for Discovery, the first thing that we need to do is we need to deploy it on your system on a D365 environment that you want the tool to be on. And then we have a separate part that is hosted on the client's Azure infrastructure, which is where the data goes. So we have an agent in the D365 environment that is gathering a lot of data based on the user activities happening in the system. And then that data is sent securely to the Azure tenant that is gathering and analyzing this data. So it's a lot like Google Analytics or similar analytical application solutions that you see out there. You can, of course, define some filtering. If you want, you can gather data from all the user activities, or you can just gather the ones from the specific users that you want. And then you can start really gathering this data. And we see on the projects that we're doing lately that even after a week of data gathering, because as you may imagine, if you use this on production, you're going to get a lot of data coming in very quickly. So even after the first week, you can start creating automated security roles and also using many of the different functionalities that we'll cover later on in this webinar. Some of them include just being able to find fraud patterns in the system or creating automated test cases, but we'll go over them one by one. So the first thing and the very obvious one that comes in with EA for Discovery is the sheer ability of being able to audit, of having an audit trail of every user step, every user action happening in the system. You may use it for many different purposes, but what first comes to mind is fraud or nefarious activities, things happening in the system that shouldn't be happening. If you have a tool like EA for Discovery on, then you will always be able to find out who did something bad in the system, how exactly they did it, who else was in the system at the same time, what else was happening, what was the business context of all of these user actions. So you have proof and you have full audit of what happened, and that can also be useful for your IT support, for your support, because when a user encounters some bugs, something wrong is happening in the system, your support can also go to this user session and figure out what was happening in the system, what the user was clicking through when this bug occurred. So it may help with root cause analysis, as you can imagine, and with being able to debug errors that are not easily replicable. Moving forward, what else it can help you with is being able to know exactly during UATs who's really working in the system, who's really testing, and who's just logged in, because you may the solution actually counts the active time spent in the application, so the real duration that the user is logged in and doing something in the system, and the duration, so just the time that they are logged in, but not really clicking anything. So you may easily compare that for UATs, but you can also compare how your remote workforce is using the system, using the application, how they are really working, if they are just logged into the system or if they are logged in and clicking through processes using the application in its full scope. Moving on, another interesting use case is that you can easily search and validate if custom buttons or custom elements that you've developed for the application are being used. Because as you may imagine, sometimes you can create a button just to save 10 seconds on each execution of a given process, just to optimize this process. And in theory, it all looks great. You're counting the hundreds or thousands of hours that you're going to save with the use of this button. But then you figure out that no users are really clicking it, and the users are doing the process the old way that they've always done it. They're not really utilizing this particular button. And with EA for Discovery, you can find out very quickly or know exactly who is using this button, who is not using it, and how the use of this specific button is looking in your application. Moving on, probably the biggest, the most valuable use case we have confirmed or validated with this product is the automated role creation, automated security role creation. So with this solution, you can create a security role for a given user based on all the activities, all the clicks that this user has done in the application in a given time frame. So you don't need to talk to the user. You don't need to work with them on what processes they are doing in the system. You can just take the real data, the real processes, the real actions that they've done in the system in a given week, in a given month, in a given time period, and automatically extract that and create a security role for them in minutes. And with the first successful projects that we've delivered, the accuracy of this security role created in this way is very, very high. It's like 99% accuracy. So meaning all the entry points that the user needed in this role were already there, except for one or two, which had to be added after the role was created and the user tested it and reported that, okay, I'm missing something. I'm missing this one entry point or a couple of entry points. So as you may imagine, you're saving hundreds or thousands of hours on a custom security role project with a tool like this. And this is by far the biggest value creation use case that we've discovered with this tool. And moving on, next thing that you can obviously figure out from the previous, this tool allows you to optimize your licensing cost with the new roles created automatically and quickly. But it also allows you to audit what your users are using now versus what access they have to the system. So you can compare the licenses that your users currently have to what they're using in the system and figure out if if I see you got a tea or something.
Yeah.
That's nice. I would like that as well. But yeah, you can easily compare what your users are using currently versus what they need, which is very useful, because if you figure out that your users have way too much access on way higher license levels than they need, then you also have a very nice way to optimize the licensing costs. And you can do that automatically with this tool just by listening to the actions of the users in a given time frame. Moving on, a very useful thing that comes with this huge amount of data that you're collecting, you're gathering, is that you can actually discover 100% of the processes happening in the application based on just analyzing all of those user actions. And that is a rare thing. Very often in companies, the knowledge about the processes is not kept up to date, dies with employees who leave the companies, etc. And with a tool like this, you can simply listen to everything that is happening in the application, and given enough time, you will discover 100% of processes. And we use machine learning and AI to map those processes discovered in the application against Microsoft's process book.
Business process catalog.
Yeah, exactly. Business process catalog, so that you can also name those processes according to Microsoft's naming convention, which is also super useful. And as a next step from that, this requires the use of another product of ours, which is EA for testing, and which we did a webinar just last week on. So if you want to find out more about that, you can check that webinar from last week out. But as a first step, you can have that business process, those business processes happening in the application mapped and cataloged. But as a second step, you can actually automatically create process documentation from that. Again, no talking to users, almost no time wasted or used on this, and you have identified 100% of processes that are happening in the application, and you can create process documentation for each one of those processes also automatically. And you can create security roles for your users also based on those processes being done in the application. And then as another use case that also requires EA for testing, you can automatically create test scripts for based on the processes discovered by the tool. So in an average test automation projects, clients create 500, 600, maybe 1,000 test scripts. And with the use of EA for discovery, you can create automatically a lot of that. Of course, as you may imagine, this will only be process flows, so happy paths through the process. It won't be real test scripts covering the different test case requirements or needs, but it will save you a lot of time required to create those scripts, or those happy paths. You'll simply have to spend some time on editing them, on adding some validations and other things that will cover your specific regression testing needs, your specific test cases. But what the tool will do is help you save countless hours on test script creation, the same way as it will help you save those countless hours on security role creation. And then another thing that is also a big use case for the tool, and actually the main reason, or the first reason that we had in mind when we first created this tool, is a performance optimization aspect. So the tool will analyze the processes that are being done in the application and will suggest to you which of these processes have the biggest potential for either optimization or for automation. So as you may imagine, if you're using a lot of, or if the users are using a lot of Control-C or Control-V, the copy-paste shortcuts, it means that there's a potential for optimization in this process, because maybe those fields can be filled automatically with a simple customization. And things like that, the tool will pick up in the system and offer to you as a suggestion for improvement, for optimization, and you'll be able to use those suggestions to develop the specific optimizations or automations and deliver a better efficiency in your application. And just to sum up on this last slide, again, we've gone through quite a few use cases. We're still identifying new ones, but the biggest ones that we see so far is for sure the automated security role creation, as that saves hundreds of hours in a security role project. Then automated test script creation, because that also saves hundreds of hours. And then you've got a lot of other things that will be useful for some companies and less useful for others. I'll just mention briefly, for example, setting up alerts in specific parts of the system where maybe if somebody changes some configuration, you get an alert, and so that you can react to those changes very quickly. Maybe being able to find out the causes of those errors, bugs happening in the system, where the user encounters something and they can't really explain what happened, and they cannot replicate it, and EA for Discovery will give the support that additional business context that may be needed. And maybe I'll stop here. I'll stop with that, and give the floor to Bart, who can jump into the tool and show you exactly how it works. Again, if there'll be questions, please feel free to post them in the comments, and we'll go over them at the end.
Thank you so much for a summary of Executive Autonomous for Discovery. On the screen right now, you see the application, which, as Matt was mentioning, is hosted aside of Dynamics, so it doesn't have any performance impact on itself, on the ERP system itself. So it's super secure. We very often use Azure hosting to access to this application. Naturally, you need to have your own accounts. Everything is well secured. You can apply some VPNs and whitelisting just to make sure that all the system analytics will stay secure just in here. And we've learned that the amount of the data that we are gathering through the analytics is massive, and different customer is finding out here a new value. As you know, and what Matt was mentioning this in the beginning, we've licensed Executive Autonomous for security setup to Microsoft, and that product actually opens now and the upcoming months a new need on the market, and we see that the gap between SAP and then Dynamics is getting smaller. This application is the first in Dynamics which enters the observability category. The observability means that you have very deep analytics about your application, which gives you the possibility to monitor the system, be proactive with everything that happens. By proactive, I mean, take a look on the side here. Through the analytics, we know that people are copying and pasting, or copying and cutting. Why it is important? If you think about this process, it gives you the source, it gives you the data which people are using, and then where the destination point is. So these examples are the best one and the quickest one for getting rid of them, just to replace by automation, just to replace by some functionality to do it automatically. That activity is one of the biggest mistake creator, the biggest bug creator in the system, because people are taking fragments of bank accounts, descriptions, and so forth, and the whole madness starts. We are tracking much more, so you can find personalizations, you can track error messages. If you see peak today, that there are some massive error messages happening, instead of waiting for ticket to come from Jira support or your DevOps, you can simply see it here, find out what happened, and then proactively do something. So you can deliver a very high SLA for everybody, just to make sure that everybody works as imagined. And I don't know if you've heard, if everybody heard today, but SAP had today a fatal error after updating the Windows 11. Entire graphic UI of SAP fall down, and multiple instances, multiple businesses across the globe, they couldn't work due to the another quote CrowdStrike incident. Right now focused only on Windows 11 and SAP. And that is something we want to prevent. That is something we want to give you basis for to prevent those situations. The proactivity analysis of the system gives me the feeling what patterns are most accurate, most active here. This is accordingly to business process catalog on the system in Microsoft. And that will be essential for partners. Partner will know what processes are done. And essentially, all of those patterns, whenever you go inside, you can know what specific types of what specific steps are needed to perform a pattern. This low level of information is impossible to get through business process catalog, and we are giving that just through system analytics. So manually assigned resource to project, I have all the steps needed to perform that process due to my analytics. I know who did that, how many times, how many steps, how much seconds it was needed to perform the process. And that can be converted to security access rights. That can be converted to documentation. That can be converted to test cases, which it gets wild, to be honest. And business process catalog from the roots. We think that soon we'll be able to work closer with Microsoft. We've got some basic steps done, and I think in this year you will see some great impact through this application to the standard library of business process catalog, which will be improved from our observability software. So that is something to come. The dashboard itself contains a bit more details about most active users, about most forms which are used. And Matt was mentioning, if you're going to deliver some modifications to the system and they are not used at all, this means that you've spent some money, but this is not having any adequate result in savings. So we are able to monitor the application just to make sure that all investments and the whole ERP system is used as it is designed. So we are able to find some corner cases and some needs around that. From the auditing perspective, as I was mentioning, the user security governance and our former product was focused on the security itself the most. And we wanted to extend the capabilities. We know that SAP has this capability to take and understand 6 months before what happened, all the very in-deep audit trail. Executive Automate for Discovery gives you that. You are able to, in practice, to disable database logging and use this only. You save on database logging, and you have deep audit trail to understand. Let's say somebody did 00985 sales order with significantly low margin, or it was actually sold for free. I can find out how this sales order was created, who was involved in the creation of that fraud. So I'm able to see when it happened, who was visiting the form, and that gives me a great basis to work with auditing team to address that vulnerability that somebody has, or entire sales team might have too much security access rights to perform these fraudulent activities. So we are enabling a deep audit trail, which not only gives you today like 24 hours visibility, you can go 6 months back or more to gather the data and understand how specific process or how specific issues are reproduced on the application. And typically our organizations or customers are defining here in the environment multiple environments, multiple dynamics, UAT, FAT, pre-production and production systems. So not only production activities can be monitored, but also in the UAT, if you are a partner and you are mastering or just validating if the implementation was done right, if the users are active and they are doing everything accordingly to the process books, accordingly to the way how the system was designed, you are able to find it out. Because in the activities of a certain month, I'm able to see how people are optimizing the system, how they are. Let's go for entire February to see all users active. I'm able to find out the real duration, meaning that they were actually doing something in the system, not that somebody was opening cart for 8 hours and they were doing nothing because they just opened up the system itself. So we are able to uncover a lot from the actual operations, from actual value delivered by a specific account. And through the topic of today's session, this is pretty interesting. And Matt was mentioning the value that we bring to the customer. If you observe and make a deep analysis of the system, you are able to use our reports and bring entry points, understanding of the process. So where I can go to reports, I can go to role creation, I can take entire February data, and I can select user specific one, and I can find out that throughout this whole month, this account was using 27 entry points. Not a lot, but what I can do more, I can take it and save in a CSV file, download this, then I can relog to Dynamics 365 FSCM. This is the update 1043, which actually has the user security governance in standard. And in USG, you can go load from file, browse, and you can go and download that role creation file. This gives me the list of all entry points used in the system. And the last element I need to do is to create a duty out of the month of the observability. So February transactions. That can be converted quickly to a role, and then the role can be applied to the user, and then the new user can do the UAT, some kind of approval that this specific role was designed well. And as Matt was mentioning, we have a high accuracy, and the last project was confirming 95% of the accuracy of most active users. So role webinar 2204. And now you'll notice that we're going to have a row of the following name with the entry points in the security configuration. So that's the effectiveness of collaboration between executive automats for discovery and then with user security governance. So just to make sure, to import that, you don't need to have any external deployable packages. Standard of USG gives you the chance to download entry points of our account. And as you see here, we have all entry points, including their references to controls if they are existing. But maybe let's stop here to not get too technical. Aside of the capabilities of extracting the roles within a few minutes, and I think this example gave us the confidence that we can do it even in 2 minutes if we have enough data and we know exactly who to choose. I can say 5 minutes will be good enough to have a coffee, or as I got before, iced tea. Super nice spring here today. But luckily, let's go forward here. Alerts. Matt was mentioning something important. Alerting in the system is one of the essence which is impossible to get. The FSCM has this advantage of changing entire system configuration on the spot. SAP doesn't have that. SAP keeps your configuration under this guide, under this key, that if something is modified, everybody knows. You are not able to modify the key system configuration without kind of a process. In Dynamics, since you can go and change LIFO to FIFO, or change the dimensions, or change any other master planning configuration, which can have positive but also can have negative impact on the system. This gives us a need to secure it somehow. what I can do, you can set an alert on the configuration of the system. So imagine you are placing a surveillance camera on the configuration itself, and any moment that somebody does change, an example here, credit limit modification, and we're observing 15 elements, I know who did that and when it happened. So I can see that somebody was modifying a credit limit to 1.25 million by some unique activity. So I know exactly who did that, when it happened, and I'll be notified by email that somebody did change the configuration. So imagine on production system, somebody changed from LIFO to FIFO, and you get that message the moment it was changed. So you don't need to plan a recovery. You just know that somebody did change configuration. You go to that person, ask exactly, you did that on purpose, it was planned. If not, then they might change the environment, or they could do some changes by mistake. Everybody's seen situation where somebody thought that they were on UAT, but they were actually doing changes on production system, which caused a lot of downtime and activities to correct those mistakes. We want to prevent that. Alerting is one of the features which are helping you secure system configuration, and this will just grow. And that will be the basics, and it gets even more wild because if you're going to think about system analytics, this gives you a massive amount of data about your application. Sooner you're going to listen to your environment, more data you're going to have, and more AI will grow and get more sophisticated. We'll be able to benefit even more. Right now, it's a huge value, but it will just go much more into the future. Now we are just testing something called a day in a life test. So you can imagine that the observability of the system gives us the possibility to reproduce 24 hours of the production system on the UAT machine. So kind of a let's play back yesterday's day today on pre-prod, see if today everything works as it was working yesterday. Kind of a gets pretty inceptional, but this gives you the benefit of observing the system. The analytics that we are producing will just provide you multiple value in the upcoming months, upcoming weeks. So test automation and discovering the patterns for the business process catalog, that is something which you get after a few days of observing. So I know that the project plan resources was done 11 times. I know the process takes around 29 steps, and it takes 32 minutes in average. This gives me also potential for automation. And finally, all the business process identified, the business process catalog identified processes, they can be converted to test automation, which means that all those processes listed here, this is the database which is growing day by day, and it is just automatically, no users needed, increasing my test coverage. So for proactive quality updates, one versions, all of that, it is done in the background. Whenever you actually need to solve your licensing audit trial needs, or you just want to limit the amount of the costs that you spend on database logging. Yeah, so I think I've covered a little bit more from the application itself. This is just the tip of the iceberg. We are pretty flexible on the delivery, and all our applications from the Executive Automate family, Executive Automate for discovery, for testing. It is super simple, it is secure, and we are guaranteeing time to value. Within less than a day, you are able to get some good value from these products. Maybe let's keep the stage open for Q&A, because I think that will be the next slide for us, and we'll be able to go through some questions if they are popping out. And if not, we are more than happy to see you in person in Amsterdam on Companion event, as Matt was mentioning, Dynamics Minds Summit NA in October, and I think Directions in Europe as well in November. So we've got pretty much events happening on the road. this year?
Yeah, we almost always come to the biggest events, the biggest FNO events every year, and we've been doing that for many years now. But yeah, if you have any questions, now's the time. We've got nearly 20 minutes we can spend on addressing your questions. So please post them on the chat and we'll go over them. And as Bart mentioned, tomorrow we'll be in Amsterdam, and then at the end of May we'll be in Chicago for DynamicsCon and in Slovenia for Dynamics Minds. I hope the chat works.
Yeah, same. We have to agree that it is one day after Easter, so we've seen a little bit less people registered for the day. But yeah, this recording will be hosted as well on for a longer time on YouTube. So if there will be any other question popping out to your head, guys, after the session, it will be fun to respond at after hours over email. So we're going to come back to you if you're going to place some questions on the comments. We can give you a deep dive tour throughout our Contoso application to show you an examples how it works and how we are addressing all the compliance needs from the SOX perspective, but also other regulatory requirements from different markets. Because as we know, SOX compliance is just at the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, this solution is super wide. And as I mentioned earlier, we're just discovering a lot of its use cases and added values on each and every project. And we hope to, and we are sure that next webinar or in 6 months, there will be many more valuable use cases added to this overview slide that you're seeing right now. But again, the biggest value comes in this cost savings aspect, and especially in the security role creation and in the test script creation. But on top of that, there's a lot more, and you can see that on the screen. All right, I don't see any questions on chat, so I think we'll be wrapping things up here. You've got the contact information here on the slide for myself and Bart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for attending our webinar. I can add one more time, if you want to know more about executive automates for testing, we covered it last week. You can watch this one on YouTube. It's also posted on our LinkedIn account. I hope you get something useful out of this one. If you want to find out more about executive automates for discovery or any other solution of ours, please visit our website, executiveautomates.com. You can follow us on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and you can reach out directly to us. You've got the emails on the screen. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, guys.